Hello, this is Adrian Berger, Director of the San Miguel Watershed Coalition. This is a presentation introducing planning efforts to develop a Wildfire Ready Action Plan, or WRAP, in the San Miguel Watershed. The WRAP will plan to mitigate the watershed impacts of wildfire in the entire million-acre San Miguel watershed, from the headwaters surrounding Telluride through Norwood, down to the lower watershed communities in the west end of Montrose County of Nucla and Natarita to the confluence of the Dolores River. The WRAP utilizes a state framework that was created in 2023 under the Wildfire Ready Watersheds program. This program continues its work today using funds from the Colorado Water Plan. The WRAP framework is designed to serve as a comprehensive guide for best planning practices in advance of a wildfire and will also support necessary post-fire mitigation strategies. Our goal is clear. WRAPs will lead to actionable wildfire-ready watersheds projects. The WRAP is designed to plan for and mitigate the post-fire impacts to a watershed. Think flooding, debris flows, landslides, erosion, and water quality impairments. These impacts can be planned for and reduced through the development of a plan of strategies and projects to be implemented before and after fire. The WRAP will consider values at risk, determined by stakeholder input, and hazards identified through desktop analysis and modeling. Some of the values at risk and hazards to watersheds related to wildfire are displayed in this graphic. As a precursor to locally developed WRAPs, the CWCB developed a statewide post-fire susceptibility assessment. The susceptibility assessment was completed at the subwatershed tributary scale. Each colored polygon on the map represents that subwatershed scale. Local examples are the Bear Creek watershed outside of Telluride or the Upper Tabawatch Creek watershed on the Uncompahgre Plateau. The San Miguel watershed in the southwest corner of the state is circled in red. You can see that the post-fire susceptibility is not as high as the more densely populated areas of the state, but there is still a significant area highlighted in yellow and orange. It is important to refine this statewide assessment to the local scale to capture values at risk from local communities that may have outsized impacts to these communities. We must recognize that fire risk is no longer a question of if, but when. Fire weather conditions have changed significantly. As a result, high fire conditions not only exist in the lower watershed, but now exist perennially in the upper San Miguel watershed. While the 2025 fire season was fortunate in that fire starts were easily accessible by local crews to extinguish, we must prepare for future larger events. Why WRAP? The WRAP approach is fundamentally focused on proactive planning, contrasting sharply with reactive measures. When we implement reactive projects after a fire, they focus primarily on the immediate protection of life, property, and water supplies. These reactive measures tend to treat localized point-of-impact issues and often overlook the health and function of the overall watershed and stream system. In contrast, proactive projects are designed to provide equal or greater protection before a fire occurs. They address multiple critical objectives, focusing simultaneously on watershed health and water supply protection. These proactive measures also work to enhance ecosystem structure and function across the entire drainage network. Modeling for the Beaver Creek wildfire runoff scenario was completed using the San Miguel Integrated Hydro Model, which served essentially as a WRAP mini. This analysis compared conditions before fire and after fire, assuming the majority of the forest burned in about 2 days at the 97th percentile fire conditions. The results show dramatic hydrologic change. Overall stream flow increased by approximately 140%. Specifically, low flows increased by 80%, high flows spiked by 443%, with monsoon flows being the most increased. We also have minimal infiltration and groundwater flow to the river, suggesting that late season flows could disappear altogether. This indicates a possible shift from spring snowmelt-driven peak flow to summer or fall rainfall-driven events. Furthermore, flooding and water quality degradation pose additional risks. San Miguel County is in the process of developing a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, or CWPP. Montrose County developed a Critical Community Wildfire Watershed Protection Plan, or CWP squared, in 2023. The WRAP will complement the San Miguel County CWPP by evaluating risk to watershed resources and post-fire hazards, and improve upon the Montrose County CWP squared by overlaying additional hydraulic and hydrologic analysis and further refining watershed mitigation actions in the wake of fire. The deliverables of the RAP are broken down into 7 different tasks. 1. Vision and goals. We must establish a shared vision and goals with watershed stakeholders supported by a communication plan. 2. Stakeholder engagement. This requires conducting outreach via 2 advisory groups, a core team and a group of larger stakeholders, and hosting milestone-based meetings to inform and gather critical input. 3. Data analysis. We must compile and analyze relevant data sets to identify gaps, prioritize values at risk, and create a geodatabase. 4. Post-fire hazard analysis. This step requires modeling wildfire severity and watershed hazards, often needing a subcontractor's support for hydrologic and hazard zone analysis. 5. Susceptibility analysis. We will assess risk to critical infrastructure using GIS-based methods. This involves integrating feedback to address identified hazards and vulnerabilities. 6. Preparedness planning. We will develop pre- and post-disaster strategies specifically to safeguard our values at risk and coordinate stakeholder roles and funding opportunities. 7. Project management. Finally, we provide ongoing project coordination, tracking, and reporting throughout the process. The preparedness planning phase generates 2 crucial documents. The pre-disaster preparedness plan focuses on mitigation projects before a fire, including actions like watershed and stream restoration, infrastructure upgrades, warning systems, water supply systems, risk mitigation infrastructure, burn severity mitigation, and fire prevention and necessary education and outreach. The post-disaster preparedness plan focuses on the action plan following a fire. This plan covers post-fire assessments, GIS data preparedness, warning systems, contracting, interagency community coordination strategy, infrastructure upgrades, and vital post-fire recovery actions. The overall RAP implementation strategy requires a mosaic of project types across wildfire, risk, or burn landscapes. This strategy involves 3 steps: developing the project list, funding, financing the projects, and then implementing them. Project examples implemented pre-fire include fuels mitigation and fire response agreements or contracts. Project examples implemented post-fire include emergency measures to protect life and property, and projects to mitigate hill slope erosion and sedimentation issues. Many project types fit into both categories, including riverscape restoration and roadway and access improvement. Riverscape restoration projects create wildfire buffers and mitigate the impacts of post-fire debris, sedimentation, and flooding. Roadway and access improvements can be implemented before fire to mitigate the worst impacts to infrastructure like bridges or culverts that are currently inadequate to handle the effects of post-fire flooding. Here are photos illustrating examples of the types of post-fire watershed impacts that the RAP aims to mitigate. These are both events associated with the 2020 wildfire season, the worst on record in the state of Colorado. At left is a debris flow resulting from the Cameron Peak fire in the Rocky Mountain National Park area, the largest in recorded history of the state. To the right is a photo of a debris flow that closed the I-70 corridor after the Grizzly Creek fire in Glenwood Canyon. And many people around the state became accustomed to frequent I-70 closures as a result of any rainfall in the years following this fire. Here are examples of watershed restoration projects to improve post-fire resilience. Many of these projects use low-tech process-based restoration techniques to efficiently and economically restore riverscapes. These projects improve stream complexity and floodplain connectivity, dispersing flood flows, catching sediment, and creating wildfire buffers on the landscape. These are examples of culvert improvements designed to reduce energy of flood flows and improve capacity for larger peak flows after wildfire. The estimated San Miguel RAP cost is $400,000. This cost estimation is based on the number of sub-watersheds in the San Miguel area. The consultant bid for this work was dated December 2024. The primary funding source being pursued is the Colorado Water Plan grant. This grant requires a 25% match. At the estimated cost of $400,000, the required match is $100,000. We may be able to leverage existing work to meet this match requirement. Committed or pending match amounts include $30,000 from the town of Telluride Open Space, $5,000 from the Norwood Water Commission, and $4,000 from the Norwood Fire Protection District. Pending amounts vary from various organizations and local governments around the watershed. The estimated San Miguel RAP cost is $400,000. This cost estimation is based on the number of sub-watersheds pictured in blue in the San Miguel Basin. Here is the consultant bid from December 2024 outlining the 7 tasks of the RAP. The most expensive is the post-fire hazard analysis, which includes hydrologic and hydraulic modeling of the watershed to determine where the worst impacts of post-fire flooding may occur. The primary funding source being pursued is the Colorado Water Plan grant. This grant requires a 25% match. At the estimated cost of $400,000, the required match is $100,000. We may be able to leverage existing work from the CWPP and CWP squared from the counties to meet this match requirement. Committed match amounts include $30,000 from the Town of Telluride Open Space, $5,000 from the Norwood Water Commission, $4,000 from the Norwood Fire Protection District, and varying amounts are pending from local funding organizations and governments. Additional resources on RAPs can be found by going to the CWCB's Wildfire Ready Watersheds webpage. The San Miguel watershed faces significant wildfire risks that endanger public safety, water quality, and infrastructure. The Wildfire Ready Action Plan is designed to enhance wildfire preparedness by reducing recovery time, mitigating erosion, controlling flooding, and protecting downstream resources. Advanced planning through the RAP will ensure long-term watershed health and resilience, thereby addressing critical gaps in our current post-fire response capabilities.